Hi, dear friends. This is Big Mama, and I have finally finished the last of my 3 commission journals. This is what I call Santa Baby because the lady who hired me to make the journal said that her brother is a full-time professional Santa Claus. And so I took an old book, and it was falling apart, and took out the signatures that were inside it and took and cut around the edge here and added a picture of Santa Claus and then put some of the overhead projector plastic over the top of the image and then took and put this braiding up around the edge so to trim it out. And I used a glue here that is for putting ceramic tiles, doing mosaics, so that it would be really strong. I don't know if you can really tell on this button, but I found it and it had a crown up here in the top along with the shield, and I thought that that was just very, very special. And then the spine of the journal was falling apart, and so I added this leather here and then glued the spine to the leather and glued it here so that the spine is secure on this new leather, and then brought the seam binding up through the cover here and secured it with the button here so that you could tie the bow. So let me get inside and I want to show you a little bit of what Santa Baby looks like. And I'm going to go ahead and put the size smaller, putting further away from you. So hold on, you're going to travel. Bing! That way you can see both pages when I do the flip through. And so inside I put this material and did not do a pocket because there are quite a few pockets on the inside of here. Use this digital that I got from Etsy for the apple theme that when Bika sent me the cookbook that was pictures from an old cookbook for that her brothers and her had gone to the church fundraiser and then helped making the apple butter. So I thought that it would be neat to add some of this red plaid in with Santa, but then I trimmed it here with this homemade paper and gold trim because, you know, Santa, he's pretty regal. And then on the inside of here, I have a pocket, and I covered the digital with this napkin here and put this here. This is a Dear Julie Julie. There'll be several of Dear Julie Julie's digitals in here. And so this was one of her digital. This was part of her digital. And I thought, you know, that calendar 1918, just remind him he's got a few days still yet to go. And then I had 2 pieces of this stationery that I folded up and put in the pockets so that he could write a legacy letter to his loved ones about some of the things he can remember growing up and what his life was like before he became a Santa Claus. Now, the book that I'm using here, this book, the book pages had this red trim around all of the text. And so I used a Big Chief notebook that I had and cut out the squares and put over the text on the pages so that it became a journaling spot. And this was a book page. I took tape and took the words off here, but it was a really, really old book, and took some napkin and put on there. And then on this side, I backed the digital with that page and then used a digital here and made that top tuck. And then I just folded this so that it can be used as notes, but I did not put a backing on it because I didn't want to add a lot of bulk because I don't know what Santa Baby is going to be adding to his journal. Here is some of that book page. And what I did on this one is I made it interactive, so Santa slides down and these open and you've got writing spots. And I saw this on YouTube, a lady had done something like this, and I thought, well, I'm going to have to do that because that is just pretty cool. So I made that interactive, and I apologize to the whoever made the digital because I truly want to honor those who make these things, but my memory is not the best, and I apologize, but I want you to know that this was a very special thing that you shared, and I appreciate it. And then on this side, to cover up where this paper, there was a folded piece of paper behind him that makes it go up and down. So to cover that up, I used a paper sack that had been stained up, did the 2 digitals here, made them into pockets, and then have little cards slipped in that to be written on. I have some old school papers that I used. And then this digital here can be, he can glue pictures or notes on here. And then I thought, you know, Santa, he might have a wish list. So I wrote Santa's wish list here, and he wants a new sleigh, warm blanket. He wants wool mittens and some hot chocolate. So I made that little note here, and then found in a catalog that I have that was from, oh, now I can't even think of the name of this, or Cracker Barrel. They had a reproduction of this old catalog, and so found the page for the sleigh and put in here and made that the center of the signature, covered this with the napkin. And so Santa's he's got a wish list, and he's got a carol for Christmas. He's going to be singing because he's so happy he got the new sleigh. And then this, I had some scraps of that catalog, and so I put it behind here, and then have that slid in there so you can write on. Some more school paper. And then here is the digital, and put some more of that old paper from the book, and you can see how fragile it was. So when I glued it down, that really made it nice and strong. And then this is the end of the first pocket with another one of the pieces of stationery for him to write on. Going into the next one, I have a friend, her name is Katie Buck. She came here for the gathering this year in April, and she had sent me some paper that she had dyed. And so what I did was I just trimmed it where it was already torn, but I trimmed it with this velvet ribbon. I thought that just was, I love feeling it too. This is some of the pictures that Bika had sent me for their church that they had done. And so I have, you know, Santa, he's definitely had a red truck when he was a kid. And there he is picking up a Christmas tree. And so when I printed the digital, I also printed some lines on the back for writing. And then here's Pastor Bob. And then the church and apple butter, about them making it. And a memorable day is in there. And then I had this paper that I decided, well, I wanted to do something on the center fold for the signature for Santa. And so I backed it with this, and these are real leaves that have been pressed and with the glycerin. And then I just put the I love it when I don't use words very often. I guess I don't know what the words are. But put the sequence here, and then some trim at the top so that he can put a picture, whatever, here. But then I had this paper sack, and so I splattered on the paper sack, and then I had this napkin. And you can see how thin it is, these lines. Let me get you big again. Zoom you in so you can see how thin that napkin was. Well, all those lines were also shown through his beard and through the paper here. So I took some acrylic paint, and I went and tapped it in here and painted this so that it didn't have so much of those lines going through everything. And so I had splattered this, put the napkin on it, And then when I sewed in the signature, that made 2 pockets. So this one is, I printed on cardstock, the digital. But I have a friend up in Idaho, and she, Rhonda, sent me 2 things. She sent me a napkin. This is not the one, but she also sent me this greeting card from Italy. And the note she put in there, I didn't write in the card because I knew you were going to want to use it. So this Santa came from Italy. And so he is, see, it says Italy down here, and he will be able to write in there for his legacy stories that he's going to pass on to his sweet babies. And that's the back side of that. And here is, well, I got another page. The sweet lady making the apple butter. And then here is his red truck and scripture cake. And then this girl was making breakfast for them. And so got a napkin and put it on this music paper, and it said, "This happy morn." Well, yeah, she's making breakfast. It makes everybody happy. And so made that a journaling card. But then this envelope, open it up, and this is Julie's digital. It had this, you know, when you get your little card, you definitely want to have a check in there, right? So I put that check in there. And he loves his farm. And so I made sure there was a farmhouse here, and there's Santa. And then the church vegetable garden. Now, the next signature, I did a signature that was basically Santa, then the church, then Santa, then the church, then Santa. So this one now is going to be focused more on Santa. And so here we have Santa baby when he was young with his sister, who asked me to make the journal. And this was in the book, this Young Folks Natural History, and so I thought that was perfect for these young folks. And then here's Santa. You'll see him a lot. Hopefully you'll see him this year if you've been good. I made sure to let him know I was a good girl. So here I found this picture in one of my children's books, and they were walking to school. And so I took the 2 boys, because she has a brother. I don't know if you saw the Bob the Builder journal, but you know, one of them's Bob and one of them is Santa baby before he becomes Santa. And then this is Bika back here walking, keeping an eye on her brothers because she's the big sister. But she wrote a card, and if you'll notice, I found bicycles in that catalog. And here, I wrote with my left hand so it'd look like a little girl wrote it. It says, "Dear Santa, I could really use a bike for Christmas. I've been good. Sincerely, Shirley." So she's got a little letter in there for Santa. And then I've got, you know, for the side pockets, these pieces of paper that he can write on. And I back this with napkin. And now we have some more journaling spots. I hope he writes his stories in here. If not, his wife can hit him upside the head and say, "Look, get busy, write, or you're going on the naughty list." This page, I had the napkin that had the bird here. So I backed the page with that. I made a photocopy of it, and then I fussy cut around the napkin, photocopied, and cut out here and put vellum behind it, and then took Julie's digital and I cut this in here and put it on top of the digital so it looked like it was laying there and the ribbon came out over the top of it to give it a little bit of 3D dimension. And then this was just a greeting card, and this is Julie's digital. What I did here was I just covered the digital with some packing tape. See how shiny that is? Because glossy accent and I have a tendency to have a bit of a falling out. And so when Irma had done in her journal using the packaging tape, I'm like, oh yeah, I am all on that. So thank you, Irma. So here we go into the next one. And there he is as a little boy. And I thought that was cool. He's got the apple, so I fussy cut, put some cardstock behind him, fussy cut again. And then I took a napkin and put Christmas toys and stuff here and a Christmas tree behind him. He's a merrymaker, but he also, this is before, so he's in front of his future. And so I put him and his sister in here and put this little card behind as, you know, you never know what the future holds, but he was a merrymaker then and he's a merrymaker now. And then I covered this with some tissue paper. And there's, you know, Santa when he's a teenager, he's got to have his red truck. Now he's got his sleigh. And some more of that. And then here I printed on vellum, and then I just took and glued each one of the corners so that it would look like this was, you know, almost like a negative of a print. So I put that on there. If they wanted to stick something behind it, you can, but also right around it. I just like the effect. And then here's the page to write on. Then I put these ladies, first we peel, and put it on a ribbon and edged it with a ribbon. And then here he is peeling the apples and made that journaling spot. So we have the process. First we peel and then we wash. And so I put the ribbon here and have, you know, where you pick the apples and you're going to peel them and you're washing them. Here's another page to be able to put pictures on. And then here is pictures of the apple butter and the apples in the tree and the kitchen and working with apples. So these two cards can be worked on. And I backed this with some of that big roll of green painter's paper that you tape off areas to keep the paint off the wall, hopefully, but you know. I'm a destructive person, so it doesn't always work, but it works great in journals. And so I backed that with that, so it's nice and strong. And then it says, now, next we stir, and stir some more. And jars must be counted. So this was, again, another piece that was on the vellum. And so I used the transparency type of ribbon because this was transparent as well. And then went around the edge with this ribbon. So you can write here. This comes out so you can write. And for the farm, you got to have your barn, big red barn. And here I took the tape and took the words off of the Merrymakers and put some of that beautiful, beautiful napkin across here. And you can write on this. And then here we are to the last signature. And there's Santa Baby. He's out in the cold because he loves them babies and wants to get the stuff to them. Not too cold for him. And so I made a pocket behind and just slipped a little card in there. And then Katie Buck had made this paper also. And there's some more of that book page. And Julie's digital. And then I backed it with some more of that beautiful old book. And, you know, things like this don't make me feel very bad because you can see the line here and the line here. If it wasn't being used in a journal right now, it would have just crumbled to pieces. And this, because it's glued to this other piece here, it's given it strength and you can write on it now. It's just, and feels so wonderful. That wood pulp just feels wonderful. So this was a greeting card that I fussy cut around. And then when I just put glue here and here, and when I was teaching, one of the families had sent me this little for my greeting card, and their signatures were here. So I just covered up their signatures right here, but I kept this and thought it was really, really neat. And I like how it says from Sandy's Christmas Carols because, you know, I'm Big Mama Sandy Moore. But I wasn't born in 1833. It was more like 1933, right? But I thought that that would be neat for him to have, and he can write on the back and refold it the other way and have it his whatever he wanted to write in there could then be put this way. So, and then I did the ribbon like this so it'd look like it was gift wrapped on a package. Because Santa's, you know, he's all about getting people their presents, right? And then on this side, I thought, you know, there's a lot of Christmas carols. There's the Jingle Bells was in one of the songbooks. So I found this in the catalog and put it over the top. And so we've got, I took this greeting card envelope and cut it in half. So it was like that, and I cut it in half. And then in the back, I just did the little divots and put some paper in there so that you can write something and put it in the journal. And then where this came down, I have these little cards that are going in there. So you have some writing and text spots. This is the napkin that Rhonda sent me. And what I did with gel matte medium, I put it on top of the view, that plastic for your, now I can, the overhead projector. And so I put that on there and let it, I coated it, I glued it on and coated the top so it had texture. I put glitter on here and then textured with the gel matte medium over the top of the glitter so it wouldn't come off. And it feels like leather, but it's actually on plastic, clear plastic. And then I took this greeting card front and just went around the edge with the gold. And I put it in like this because when I put it in like that, as you can see, this looks like it's coming out of Santa's ear right there. Couldn't handle that. I don't know if you can, but I could not. So I'm putting it in this way. But that's that beautiful napkin that Rhonda sent me from Idaho. Thank you, Rhonda. And some more journaling spots. And then this is, I printed twice, and on this I took and put the glossy accent, and you can see it cracked. But I thought, well, he's old and he's got wrinkles anyway, so don't get too worried about it. But I backed it really good with cardstock so that it would be a nice pocket. And then this Christmas tree was a greeting card that I cut out because, you know, Santa needs a Christmas tree. And I had these two pockets that I did, this one with vellum, and then this is Julie's digital that I put on here. And then I wrote Handmade by Sandy Moore, 2025. I've been a good girl, honest. Santa, honest, I've been a good girl. So hopefully he'll read that and he will remember me this year instead of just getting the coal. Well, I have a fireplace, so I can't not complain about the coal all the time. But, you know, the mink coat and pearls and diamonds, what would I do with them? I don't know. So this is Santa Baby, and it is going to a full-time Santa Claus, and I hope that he truly enjoys this. So in the tradition of the YouTubers out there letting you see their hands, that's real, I thank you so much for watching. And please, I know everybody says, leave me a comment, but my thing about the comment is I just love reaching out and visiting with you guys. So if you want to say hey, I'll say hey back. Bye-bye. Thank you for watching, and have a wonderful Thanksgiving and a Merry Christmas.